Zillow is being sued for RICO allegations. Those are the same allegations that are used for organized crime. Let me tell you my opinion on what that means for you as a real estate agent and our industry as a whole. Welcome to the Redefine Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Talbot, the CEO and owner of Redefine Real Estate. And today we're going to talk about one of the biggest news articles that we're seeing in our industry. It might be, potentially, could be, maybe is the biggest scandal that we've seen in real estate yet. Yes, I'm talking about the Zillow lawsuit that's currently happening when it comes to RESPA violations and RICO allegations in our industry. So for those of you who don't know what a RICO allegation is, it's a racketeering charge that's typically used for gangs, typically used for organized crime, and has been charged for people and organizations as big as the mafia through the years, right? And so this is a very, very serious allegation that Zillow has, along with a lot of other potential allegations and other allegations from companies like Compass, and they're just constantly getting sued left and right. So I want to give you a little bit of insight of my story, how this affected Redefine Real Estate and my team, as well as just a little bit more information on this particular case, what is going to happen, and my personal opinions of what matters and how this affects our business and what does that mean looking like in the future. So this video is something I've been considering about writing about. I've been considering making shorts about for a while, and I really wanted to wrap my head around the situation because it is such a serious situation, right? And there's a lot happening here. So to outline what is the Zillow RICO lawsuit, number one, use premier agent and lead generation programs as part of a unlawful kickback scheme. Number two, they're being charged for circumventing RESPA by using pay-for-payment and lead sales models that allegedly disguised, if I can read properly, referral fees. Number three, made agents believe they were advertising, but plaintiffs claimed Zillow were allegedly selling leads, not ad space. Number four, created an environment where agents believed they needed to pay for Zillow program to compete. Why RICO? Why civil RICO? RICO allows plaintiff to claim long-term organized fraudulent conduct. It dramatically increases potential damages. It frames the allegations in the harshest way possible, even if ultimately unsuccessful, right? So here's where we're at, right? This is not a criminal charge. This is a civil RICO lawsuit. Far easier to file, much harder to win, but huge PR impact, okay? And so that's my quick notes, right? That's my quick notes about what's happening. So let me tell you layman's terms of what really kind of went down. So Zillow has had multiple products for many years. They're a hugely funded organization. They have billions of dollars and they've been around in our industry for a long time. There's not a person in the United States and most places in the world that doesn't know what Zillow.com is, right? Most adults are addicted to this thing like most teenagers are addicted to Tinder, okay? This is something that is huge, right? It's a huge, huge company. And with that, with great power comes great responsibility. Okay. And so I've worked with Zillow for years. I've given Zillow close to $1 million of my money through part of Zillow's paid lead program. How did that look like for me in the past, and what is the future of Zillow and where are they going with it? So for me in the past, I used to pay for advertising space throughout zip codes that I like to work in. So I'd pay for 48170 as an example, or my brokerages in Plymouth here, and I would pay to advertise. So what would happen is a client would reach out and they would connect with Zillow, and Zillow would forward me their information and say, this person is interested in this property. And then it was up to me to disclose who I was, what we were doing, and what the process was from there. And if I was able to convert the business, great. That was a pay-per-lead program, in my opinion, okay? And Zillow, through the years, has launched different programs. They have many different programs. And one of the programs that they launched was a similar program, but with a drastically majorly different change, in my opinion. And what is that change? So they moved to what they call a Zillow Flex program. And the difference between that paid per lead program and a Zillow Flex program was in paid per lead, I believed I was paying for a lead. That lead would come in. I had the contact information. They signed up through Zillow. They signed up to receive, my phone call and that connection. Actually, more often than that, they actually called Zillow and Zillow connected them with me. Okay. And that same program still existed, but instead, what they would do is they would charge on a referral basis. So instead of me paying for my slot in that particular zip code, Zillow moved this to a referral basis, and they started taking anywhere between 25 and 40% in most marketplaces of the commissions. And so In our market, they moved to 100% flex, okay? And this was a major milestone for me in my personal journey of what I was going to do, because we had been with Zillow for a lot of years. We, made money off of Zillow. We had a pretty good lead source. We had a pretty good relationship there, and this was a drastic change. And when I looked under the hood, I was like, hey, I'm open to understanding what this looks like. It already felt a little bit off to me because of this referral program. It just didn't feel right, because Zillow is not a real estate brokerage. Zillow is a technology company that is providing real estate services. So paying them a referral fee didn't feel like I'm paying a licensed agent, in my opinion. So that was already one of the problems. When I looked under the hood, I found out that there's more and more requirements to be on Zillow Flex. You had to convert a certain amount of leads. You had to use their CRM. You had to note things their way. There was all these items in there that just felt, in my opinion, wrong and controlling me. And so I'll talk about in a minute how that plays out, what I think how that affects the industry. But before I finish up, I want to get into why this is becoming RESPA violations. On top of these requirements, one of the main requirements to continue to get Zillow Flex leads for these Flex agents across the country, there are thousands of them, was to send a certain amount of business to Zillow Home Loans, okay? So you were required to send a certain amount of business to Zillow Home Loans, which is its own mortgage company. So in our business, if you're not familiar, there's a very, very important group, a very, very important set of rules. That's RESPA, okay? And that RESPA means that I cannot provide or send my business a certain direction without disclosing that to the client and making sure that we're completely on the up and up. So we have a lot of preferred partners. I have preferred lenders. I have preferred inspectors. We have a lot of preferred title companies that we work with, right? And so I talk with my clients. I say, hey, these are preferred partners. You can work with whoever you want. And I'm disclosing that in a paper saying, hey, these are our preferred partners. You're welcome to work with whoever you want. We recommend working with them for many, many reasons, but work with whoever you want. It's up to you. I just want to represent you on the real estate transaction, right? That was all bypassed with the Zillow Flex program so far that there was internal documents that really hid it. This wasn't even put on paper. It wasn't even sent to you as an agent saying, hey, here's the program. They literally wouldn't even write it or put it in an email or post it anywhere because they knew it was wrong. So just verbally committed, okay? So once I figured out all this stuff, again, I've had some really good folks at Zillow that I've worked with through the years. I've had great salespeople. I've had great account managers. I'm not here to bash Zillow. They offer a great product for a lot of people. The services are used by literally millions of people every single day. However, this particular program felt wrong. Simultaneously, I'm running a team. I'm running a brokerage. I'm running a company. I need to make profit, right? I need to make money. And so this is a big decision. I talked to a lot of team leads that were both on and off Flex. I talked to different mentors. I really thought through it myself. And to me, it just didn't feel like the right thing to do for the client. And it didn't feel like the right thing to do for the real estate agent. And it didn't feel like the right thing to do for the industry. So I decided against it. What's funny is shortly after that, because our market went 100% to Zillow Flex, so I no longer pay for any lead sources from Zillow. So it went 100% to Zillow Flex. Right after that, all these lawsuits started happening. All these different problems started arising. And the reason why those problems were arising is because there is some morally, ethically, in my opinion, wrong things happening when it comes to that, okay? These are big tech companies. They're hugely funded. They have great attorneys. Like, I'm sure this will end up just being a very small blip on the map for them, but I'm not sure because these allegations are pretty intense. Like, these RICO allegations are pretty crazy. So there's a lot of different items in here that I have. We're talking about RESPA violations, which is giving the referrals and sending to Zillow Home Loans. There's a lot in this court case that we can unpack, but I think more importantly, I wanted to discuss, what does that mean for you as a real estate agent? What does that mean if you are a Zillow Flex agent? Again, I'm not here to judge. I have some very good friends that are on Zillow Flex. I'm not judging you by any stretch of the imagination. That being said, I really do want to voice my opinion of why I went a different direction. I believe in this industry, we're in this industry to work with the consumer. Before I was in real estate many, many years ago, I was a sales guy. I worked for a division of Xerox. I sold copiers. I sold software. It taught me a lot of sales acumen, and I had some different opportunities to go into other sales jobs, okay? And those sales jobs really just kind of felt like selling products, like selling something new, and it really just felt like shoving product down people's throats, right? And so I was good at sales. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed collaborating with people. I believed in a lot of the things that I sold, but all the jobs that I interviewed for never really felt right. And when I got my real estate license, I realized there's something really sacred about home ownership. There's something really sacred about helping someone buy their dream home, helping someone build a home that they worked really, really hard for, helping someone start home ownership, helping someone downsize when there's a death in the family, whatever it is, right? There's a lot of reasons why we work in this industry, and it felt very sacred. Moreover, the industry itself felt very sacred, right? There's hundreds of thousands of agents across the country, and these individuals are helping people during the facilitation of the sale of real estate when it comes to residential real estate, okay? It was a very, very cool thing to me, and I liked the real estate industry because it wasn't this big corporate world. There was a lot of small independents. Still to this day, there's some big companies out there, but the majority of real estate agents work for independent brokerage across the country, okay? These are small companies, they're small businesses, and they're here to help their local communities. And so in that, there should be some type of sacred pact. There should be, and that's really what being a realtor is compared to being a real estate agent, right? You're a realtor, which means you live under a code of ethics. So we created a code of ethics, and as real estate agents, we try to live under this code of ethics. And with that should be proper disclosure. That's all. There's nothing wrong with having preferred lenders or people that you should work with. There's nothing wrong with collaborating with these companies within the law, okay? But there's plenty of money to be made. There's plenty of opportunities to have success in this industry, playing within the rules, playing within the boundaries, and also still disclosing everything to your client, and they understand everything's on the up and up. It's a very easy way to go about it and should be treated that way. So anytime you're bypassing that, anytime you're going against that, and it's like your spidey senses are going up like, hey, this doesn't seem right. As a real estate agent, as a broker in this industry, I want you to be very, very thoughtful. Is this something you should be doing? And is this protecting the sacredness of what we do as real estate agents? And in this case, with this particular lawsuit and the current state, who knows, they can change, they can evolve, the current state did not feel right for me. So I left a lot of money on the table to not go this direction for the Zillow Flex program because it didn't feel right for me. So back to the lawsuit. There's a lot to unpack here. The main bullet points that you should consider are that there are these RESPA violations. There's these violations, at least alleged violations, where they're bypassing these rules. They're playing in these gray areas, very much gray areas, and they're a tech company. They're not a real estate brokerage. And what's happening with the Zillow Flex program across the country is they're basically making every agent that's willing to get on this program part of a massive real estate brokerage from a massive company, and it's turning into a monopoly. Not only that, but Zillow bought Showing Time, which is how we schedule showings in our market. I'm pretty sure in most markets. Zillow bought Follow Up Boss, which is the biggest CRM in real estate. They're literally micromanaging every step of the process. When I used to get Zillow leads, they would come in, I would have a phone call, we'd be able to sit down, have a conversation. Here's our list of services. Here's why we advertise in this area. Here's who we are. Do you want to work with us or not? Yes, you do. Great, we'll move forward. It got shady. It got very blurred in a lot of ways as life went on. And one of the ways that it got blurred, in my opinion, was when they bought Showing Time. So when Zillow bought Showing Time, all of a sudden they expected you to meet a random stranger at a random house with a pre-scheduled showing. So you go on to Zillow, you schedule a showing, and it's like, okay, 3 o'clock slot is open. I schedule it for 3 o'clock. Zillow owns that company. They confirm it. They send it out to a random agent, and a random agent is supposed to meet a random buyer at a house at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, okay? In my opinion, it's not even safe, let alone ethically correct for the client. I believe at Redefine Real Estate, and who I am on my team as an agent, is that real estate services are sacred. You should sit down with your client. You should have a go-to-market on the buyer side. You should have a go-to-market on the selling side. You should be able to sit down and say, here's my listing presentation. Here's my buyer's presentation. Here's my list of services. Here's who I am. Do you feel that you're comfortable working with me? Do you feel like I'm the right person to work with moving forward based on these lists of services? If so, let's sign up to work together, because there's a lot on the line here. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's millions of dollars on the line. There's your financial livelihood on the line. There's so many nuances that we talk about as real estate agents that are so critically important, and the client deserves to have an understanding of your list of services, who you are, before you move forward. And anyone that bypasses that, in my opinion, is kind of taking away from the sacredness of a real estate transaction, the sacredness of what a real estate agent is, or what a realtor is, in my opinion, if they're of ethical, good standing. So I know I'm venting hard here. I know there's a lot to unpack, but from my perspective, I think some of that moral fabric is going away with some of these companies. And Zillow's not the only one. Again, there's a lot of good people that work there. This is not a bash Zillow This is not a bash Zillow thing. Like, it might seem like that, but Zillow is a company. They're working for a profit. They're trying to have the best competitive advantage they can for their people and for their investors. I get that, but there's a way. They're dominating already. There's a way to do that and be of ethical, good standing, in my opinion, and not have to bypass these rules and laws and really hurt the consumer. In my opinion, hurt the industry. Who really gets hurt the most, in my opinion? The real estate agent. These are local businesses. They're entrepreneurs. They're people who worked very, very hard to build a career. And this is a tough business. I don't care what your thoughts are. You think real estate agents make too much, not enough? I don't know. Like, it's a very, very tough business. And to hire a real estate agent is easy. To hire a good one is very, very difficult. So the good agents, they deserve to be respected. They deserve to work in an ethical way, and they deserve to be protected by companies like Zillow. So if you're Zillow, if you're any of these other big tech companies in the real estate space, and you happen to hear this, I would be thoughtful. Are we doing right by people? I'm not saying I'm a business guy. I'm a for-profit guy. I run a for-profit business. I understand you need to make the right decisions to make money. But that being said, where are those lines in the sand? And I would be very careful of where you draw them. So this is Redefine Real Estate. This is kind of a hot episode coming back. What do you think, Mikey? I'm fired up today. I'm fired up. Thank you so much for checking out this particular podcast and video. We're going to have more like this. And if you haven't checked out our channel, hit subscribe or tap for notifications. We interview a lot of local agents, a lot of local industry people, and we deep dive into a lot of this stuff. We tell agent stories. There's a lot of little tips and tricks that you can pick up from this channel. If you are an agent, if you're a mortgage broker, if you're in the industry and you want to stay up on what's happening in our industry, that is the point of this channel. Not all videos are just venting about Zillow, but I thought this was a good one to pick back up on, and I think it needed to be said. That's my opinion. It's on vinyl. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks.